York County is so much more than just a stop for gas on I-80. 17 County is filled with unique individuals with unique stories just waiting to be told. Welcome to the 17 County Podcast with your host, Emily Perry.
This is 17 County Podcast. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and listen. This helps our podcast grow, and we thank you for your continued support. We would also like to take the time to thank our York County Development Corporation members, AgriProducts, Cornerstone Bank, Nebraska Public Power District, and Central Valley Ag. Without these great members, we wouldn't be able to focus on the growth and development of York County here at the YCDC. So thank you. Let's get to the podcast. Today we have businesswoman, artist, and entrepreneur Tyler Hinton with us. Tyler is the owner of Rustic Dry Goods and is committed to creating quality, customized items for her customers. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
You bet.
Okay, so we're gonna start off easy. Tell me a little bit about you. Are you from this area?
Not originally. I was born and raised in Texas. I moved here my freshman year of high school, and my dad was the baseball coach at the college. Oh. And so I lived here my freshman, sophomore year of high school. Then we moved back to Texas because it was too cold for my family.
Yep.
And then I moved back in September or October of 2007 to check out this guy.
Oh.
To see if this relationship might pan out. And Here we are 16 years later. So,
well, I was going to ask what brought you back, but I think we kind of know now.
Yeah.
So you came back after so many years. What did you do right when you got back to York?
I actually worked at UFC, now CVA, for a little while.
Interesting.
Yeah. My original degree is in interior design, and so that wasn't really something that there's a lot of out here. And so I had worked at the college for a little stint and admissions, and then I moved over to CVA, which I guess it was UFC then. But yeah, I did that for 2 or 3 years. So, yeah.
Okay. And when did you start doing, well, back up. Let's explain what your business is before we dig into it.
So I own Rustic Dry Goods. We do screen printing, embroidery, sublimation, heat transfer vinyl, some signage, but I don't do a lot. There's plenty of people who do that in town, and maybe yes. And then, but everything is pretty much custom. I also run our own line of clothing that I sell wholesale to like boutiques and some other places, and yeah.
Okay.
That's the general.
So I think I already know the answer to this, but how did this start? Where did you start?
So after I left UFC, I went back to school to become a teacher and get qualified for that here in the state of Nebraska. I was a teacher for 10 years, and I had the guy that I did my student teaching with, my cooperating teacher, had run a screen printing business on the side the entire time almost that he was a teacher, and he decided to also retire from that, and he was like, would you be interested? And I was like, 100%, I will buy that. And I started doing it for kicks and giggles on the side and just did screen printing. And then once I left teaching, I decided to go full-time with it. So, and then I added embroidery. I think after 1 year, we had added sublimation and vinyl. Man. And then, yeah, so it just keeps growing, and it's fun.
Yeah, hasn't slowed down.
Not really, no.
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
And you're located in downtown York.
I am, yes. Right across the kitty corner from the big Cornerstone Bank.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you have kind of a unique career. I think a lot of people don't really know what it entails. What would a normal day for you look like?
Well,
if there is normal.
Yeah, there's not a day that's the same, which is probably something I really enjoy about this. So I usually start off with emails, and then I do some design work, quotes, run to the bank, email people to check back up on jobs, do some printing, phone calls, like all the things, and then all the business side of things too. You gotta do the taxes and do the things, and yeah, things that they don't teach you in art school. So
right. So let's back up. We'll come back to this, but let's back up a little bit. What did your parents do growing up?
So my dad was a baseball coach, and he was also an educator. So he did both in varieties of ways. So for instance, when he was at York College, he was the chair of the PE department.
Oh,
because we used to have a sole PE department back there, and he was also the head baseball coach. And then, but he did that all throughout my life, always did baseball lessons, and he was also a baseball scout for 30 years for the Dodgers. And then my mom was a secretary at Abilene Christian University on their campus for almost 30 years. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's a big time commitment.
Yeah. So
you grew up in the baseball realm.
I did, very much so.
How much fun was that?
I loved it. I absolutely adore baseball, and I'm a nerd, and I love taking stats of baseball. So
really?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good to know. I don't know how I'd ever use that, but I'm sure an opportunity will come up. So you said you guys kind of came here, went back. You were kind of familiar with the York area. What really drew you to coming back besides the boy?
Besides the boy. I just really, so I have an interesting route of getting here. So I, did the normal thing, high school, college, graduated. I had started grad school, and then I got an internship in Nantucket, Massachusetts, and I was out there for almost 9 months. And then the internship ended, and I desperately wanted back into the Midwest. I missed this way of life, and I had also learned I am not a big city girl. So I really wanted the small town life, and I had this guy I was interested in, and I already knew I liked York, so it panned out really well. But
the rest is history.
Rest is history. So I really, really like it here.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you do. You have a successful business.
I think so.
From the outside looking in, you look like you're doing great.
I mean, it seems like it's going okay. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you have any future plans for your business?
We are running out of space. So I would say I probably should be looking for somewhere to expand at some point, because we have outgrown where we're at, and we're just making it work. So, but it's hard to find kind of what we're looking for in our small town, because our downtown is actually thriving, I feel like, at the moment.
Absolutely.
A lot of our buildings are full, and I think that's amazing. So just trying to find something that might work potentially in the long run. So, yeah.
Congratulations on growing that much.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
So how many staff do you guys have?
I have one full-time outside of me, and then I have 3 part-time.
Okay. So 4, 5.
5,
plus
I guess,
you.
total, if you count me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
absolutely.
you could, if you count my husband, it would be 6. He does a few things here and there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you put in not many hours at all, right?
Never. Yeah, just a few. Just a few.
Just a couple.
So, yeah.
What would you say is the favorite, like your favorite part of work?
Design work.
The creative side?
Yeah, I really do love just playing in Illustrator and doodling on my iPad. And yeah, I'm an artist at heart. So I love the design thing. I love trying to help people learn about branding and how to better make their logos work for different things, and making sure it all like matches, and I'm big marketing, branding. I love all of that. So
absolutely. And you created your logo, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I
It's
drew
beautiful.
it. Well, thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I love it.
So
yep. And you can kind of see your artistic side even walking into your building. I mean,
oh, thanks.
You've done a lot of really neat stuff in there that I would have never come up with.
Oh,
so.
thank you. I appreciate that.
It's beautiful.
So,
do you have a favorite thing that you like to create? Like, is there a certain type of printing or embroidery or anything like that that's your favorite?
Printmaking has always been something I've really enjoyed. And so I do really enjoy the whole process behind screen printing and just the ins and outs of it and learning it. I'm such a nerd. I'm sorry. I'm going to geek out for a second. Okay. So, but there's just a lot of like sciencey things and problem solving stuff that always comes up with it, and like color theory and mixing the inks, and I don't know, I just really enjoy it. So, and there's a lot within printmaking that you can do that's also screen printing, but also like not screen printing. There's just like fun things that I do that I'm always like, ooh, I wonder if that would work. And so then I'm just like turn into like a little experimenter, and I've actually been doing a lot of that today, trying to figure out a job. So, it's just fun stuff that I think my employees think I'm crazy sometimes, because they're just like, you look so excited to be like not able to figure out how this is going to work. And I'm like, but it's like so fun.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that creative piece of things, I'm sure, is essential.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So what would you say, I mean, of course you're an artistic person, but do you have something that really drives you to keep going? I know being a business owner is a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work. What drives you to just show up every day and keep making product?
That's a really good question.
I know, throwing you on the spot.
I just like really enjoy what I do. Is that a good answer?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
I don't know. I love coming down to the shop. I love people coming in and saying, hey, and literally there's not a day that's the same. And that's what I always enjoyed about teaching as well. Mm-hmm. Like every day was different. And I don't know. I just really, I love the challenge and the growth and the experimenting, and I don't know, feel like I've kind of made something that's made for me. So it fits my personality. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's say that I am a person who wants to start a business, has this great idea, and I don't know what to do. What kind of advice would you give them?
The advice I was given, because I went to friends who have MBAs, because I did not know what I was doing. And they said, research like business plans and like what would it take to run the business that you do, figure out how much your costs would be, and then how much you need to make per month in order to then cover those costs, and then price yourself for those things. Like they taught me a lot with all of that. So that was kind of what I started with. And now I'm at a point where I'm like figuring out lots of other different things. But like that was kind of my starting point. Was I literally just researched screen printing business plans. Like a nerd. I also really like research.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so definitely figure out the numbers, figure out the research side of things. What piece of advice would you give to someone, let's say they kind of have that part figured out, they're kind of getting settled, but I mean, there's still that huge growth curve, that you have to get used to. What advice do you have for people looking to stick it out, for lack of a better term?
I think reflection's kind of key whenever you hit that point, and making sure like, okay, is this what I want? Is this fitting what I want my business to be, where I want it to go? Figure out which areas are working, and if those areas, can you make more growth, and then how do I push that growth, and kind of look more into that realm. Because I feel like there's always different areas within a business. Some of them will do well at different times of the year.
Absolutely.
So like screen printing's crazy busy in the summers, and embroidery's crazy busy in the winters. And so they balance each other out really well for a business like mine. But I always think about, like, as a teacher, they always made you like write these journals and reflect on how your lesson plans went. And I kind of feel like I do the same thing as a business owner. Is like, how did that work? And let me go back on the last 6 months. And did I do that correctly? And so I feel like reflection's kind of the big part whenever you hit that part where like, okay, what's my next step? And reflect back actually, and like look at how it went. Then how can you continue to implement what you're doing? And then where's your next steps of growth, and like figure out kind of action plans and then steps to then complete those action plans. So that's what I do. I don't know if it's right.
That sounds like a very, that sounds brilliant to me.
Okay, well, thanks. I'll take it.
So let's say somebody has a big project and they want to bring it to you. How do they contact you? What questions should they have already answered when they come to you?
The biggest thing, I communicate mostly through email. So I would say contact me through email, hello@rusticdrygoods.com. And then knowing what it is you're looking for. If you know you need 50 t-shirts, like, do you want a soft t-shirt? Do you want a cheap t-shirt? Do you want like the nicest t-shirt that exists? Like, those types of price points would significantly help. And then what do you want on your shirt? That's always the biggest question, is like, how many locations do you need something? Do you want screen print? Do you want embroidery? Do you what's your price point is always the biggest question for pretty much everyone. So knowing this is what I want, but then sometimes they're like, this is my budget. I can usually finagle some things and figure some stuff out, and price point's usually the biggest thing that I usually need from people. So
And what is, I mean, I know it depends on size of order and all that, but what would you say normal turnaround time is?
Right now, we're like 7 to 10 business days, more towards the 7. Yeah. I mean, in the summertime, we're usually pushing more. Like, I'm talking about screen printing because that's always like the one that I always refer back to. But in the summers, that usually sometimes backs up to 14 days just because it's the busy season. So,
Don clearing the second. I'm president and CEO of Agri Products in York, Nebraska. We are a manufacturer of quality equipment, grain handling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm excited for summer because I am sick of the cold.
Right.
But speaking of, we're going to go into some hot potato questions.
What?
Surprise! No, they're really easy, like Coke or Pepsi type questions.
Sorry, what popped in my head is, you know the episode of Friends where Phoebe, asked, speed questions? That's what popped in my head, and I was like, oh no. What's going to come out of my mouth?
Right. No, not as serious. This is just kind of getting us away from the interview to
Yeah, that's fine.
no more deep questions for a little while. Summer or winter?
Summer.
I agree.
Sorry, born and raised in the desert. Summer.
Fair point. But TVs or movies?
TV.
TVs or movies? I don't know if I worded that right, but yes, TV.
Yeah.
Okay. Book or movie?
Book.
Do you have a favorite genre?
Kind of like fantasy and also kind of like documentary type,
Ooh,
information, literal research nerd. Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Fair.
yeah.
Fruit or vegetables?
Neither.
Okay. Yeah.
Fun fact, I'm actually allergic to fructose.
What?
Yeah, that's a
Really?
thing. Yeah, it sucks.
Ooh.
The only fruit I can eat is strawberries.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, it's like a newer thing. They're finding a lot of people actually have it that they said had IBS, and it's not
Oh,
actually IBS.
really?
Yeah. So
Interesting. Huh. Learn
There you
something
go.
new every day.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Travel or stay at home?
What time of year is it?
Okay, yeah. Valid question.
But no, probably travel.
Okay.
I'm an adventure seeker, so.
Do you have a favorite destination?
Mountains?
So like Colorado.
Yeah, Montana. All of
okay.
those things. Yep.
Farm or city?
Farm.
I think we kind of
Yeah.
answered that earlier. No, it's fine.
It's good.
Games or card games?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think card games.
Okay.
Yeah, I think card games.
I think I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to jump right back into the interview.
Okay.
So we're going to kind of back it up to your career path. I know we kind of covered it a little bit, but let's talk first job, possibly still in high school. What were you doing?
Oh, Lordy. My first job actually was whenever I was a sophomore in high school here in York. There was a lady here in town that ran a potpourri business that sold in the Neiman Marcus catalog.
Huh.
And she wasn't open to anyone, but she made all of her stuff. In my head, I remember what the building looked like, and now when I look at downtown, I think it was probably where Mr. Duke's is now.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but it was somewhere on that side of town. And I went and I put ribbons on the boxes and I put labels on the bottles.
Very exciting.
Yes. And she loved me because I put the labels on straight because I am a very highly detail-oriented human. So I'm a perfectionist. And then I worked for a lady that sold these angels also here in town. I actually did both jobs at the same time for a little while. And I would color the cards that she put the angels on.
Okay.
So again, artsy, fartsy job. Yeah. And then we moved to Texas and I worked in a floral shop and I made mums. If you don't know what Texas mums are for homecoming, you should check it out and be mortified. And then and then in college I worked for the creative services department for my university doing graphic design type stuff and mostly carrying things around campus and getting mail and answering the phone. But yeah, that type of stuff. And then I also worked for HR when I was in grad school. Did that for a little while. Learned all about I-9s. And then I had a job where I worked for the Nantucket Historical Association.
Oh, interesting.
And that's whenever I was in Massachusetts. I gave tours of the island. So that was
cool.
I was pursuing history type stuff at the time. And so it was, again, the research side of me. It was fun. It was a really cool job. And then I moved here, worked in admissions for a small time, then worked at UFC, then became a teacher. And while I got my teaching certificate, I actually worked for a hard of hearing student we had on campus, and I did something, it was called TypeWell, and I typed everything that was said in class, and it showed up on her computer so she could follow along with what was happening, and I would ask questions for her and things like that, and then because she could type back to me her questions, and that's what paid for my education essentially. While I did that, I went to her classes and then went to mine, and I got my degree. That was a fun job. And then I was a teacher for 10 years, and now I own my own business. Never where I thought I would be, but I fully love it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's a big...
It's seriously a really weird
step.
path.
But, I mean, they say every career leads to your next thing, and everything leads up to where you're meant to be, and it all helps.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
Yeah.
So it's weird because there's things that I've done, and every single one of them I pulled information from in order to do the business I'm doing. So it's kind of funky. Like, it's weird, but it works really well. So, yeah.
One thing that we do regional career day, lots of high schoolers, and one thing that we really hammer is like, guys, there's open doors everywhere. You just got to walk through them, and it might not be what you want to do, but it'll help. It'll help.
It
just
really
get that
does.
Experience.
Yeah, and if anything, you learn, oh, maybe this is not for me.
Exactly.
Or if you thought maybe that sounds dumb, and then you do it, you're like, this is the coolest job ever. You never know. So that's how I ended up in Nantucket. Most bizarre, random thing on the planet.
Yeah, that's so cool, though. That's neat. Tell me a little bit more about that experience. What was that even?
It was
like
really fun. I had just finished grad school, and which there's a whole story there, but I won't go into it. And then, I got hired for this like tour job. I don't know. I can't even remember the name of my job, but I was underneath the education director, and I gave tours of the island and tours of the historical sites in the museum. And then they gave us housing, and I lived in the back of one of the historical sites that I gave tours of.
Oh, cool.
It was super cool. And it was a gorgeous home, and that island is beautiful. And so I just like hung out on the island all summer through the fall, and then and then at the end of it I moved here. And so but my boss and I both lived in the backside of the house and hung out together, and she grew up out east, and so she'd never really learned how to cook beef.
Oh, really?
And I didn't know how to cook fish, so we taught each other like cooking.
That's
and
cool.
it was a really wild and just neat experience. And there's an absurd amount of people in Nantucket in the summer, and a lot of them are famous. And so you would just walk to the grocery store and like see famous people who were there for vacation at their like second home. And I was like, so I have like a list that I kept of people that I saw, and it was just really fun. I was like, this is so cool. Never said a word to any of them because I was like too scared. But yeah, it was really fun.
That's cool. Do you have like favorite person you ever met? I have to ask.
Probably John Kerry while I was out there.
Okay.
That was really cool. A couple of times actually, but his wife is of the Hines family.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that. And they had donated a lot of money to the museum for one of the things in there. And so they got a private tour. Somehow in this thing, I ended up giving that tour. So that was really fun. I gave a private tour to the both of them. And then literally my brother came to visit like 2 weeks later. And I took him to my favorite sandwich shop. As we were walking out, I literally walked just right into John Kerry's chest. And I was like, hi. And he was like, how are you doing? And I was like, this is really weird because the only reason you know me is from work. And I ran into him. And it was So, no, he was really nice, actually. And, it was fun. So
that's cool. Not many people can say that. So. Well, not at least in the Midwest.
Not in the Midwest, right. So... But I saw Aerosmith from a distance. Which was his name, Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
Walked past him and then turned around and like freaked out. And I was like, that was the only one I literally freaked out. I was like, that's Steven Tyler. I was like, oh my gosh. So, but before Obama became president, he was there that summer. And like kind of doing like stump speeches or whatever with people. And so one of my coworkers was like, come with us. And I was like, who is this guy? And but they're all very democratic out there, so there was a lot of that, and that's very different from what I am accustomed to. And so it was just a totally different lifestyle. And they have different churches than what I was experiencing in life. And so I went to all of those. I was like, I'll check them all out.
Yeah,
I was like,
why not?
I just lived it all. So, and
that's
I
cool.
made some friends, and they took me clam hunting. I guess I don't know what to call that. There's probably a name for it. I don't know.
I'm sure.
And then we cooked the clams. I don't know. It was
Ooh.
cool. Yeah. So just like, things that we don't have here,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was neat.
That is really cool. Mm-hmm. Huh. Who would have thought?
I know. Yeah.
That's neat. Okay, back to the business. Keep coming back to it because it's awesome and you're doing great things.
Okay.
So I know that you were kind of in the process of building up your business from your house for a little bit.
Right.
And then you
Yeah.
decided to transition to a storefront.
Right.
What was that transition like?
It was mostly a lot of two things. One, convincing my husband to take the risk. And two, convincing myself that I was capable of doing it.
Oh,
I was
absolutely.
extremely self-doubt, whatever that word is. Anyway, but I mean, I had done it on the side as a teacher, and I just kept getting more and more asks for jobs, which made me always feel good, but I always just tried to keep it on the down low. I barely advertised. I barely posted on social media at that time because I was like, I don't have time for more.
Right.
And whenever I left teaching, I kind of gave myself a good 6 months of like testing the waters to see if this was something that would be a good fit. And I really pushed things on social media and tried to grow, and it did. And within probably just 4 months of doing that, I was starting to be like, I think this is something we could do full time. Trent, we could do this full time.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
he is a very well thought out, patient man. And so we had to really plan. But yeah, around my birthday, I finally got him to agree, and we jumped all in, feet first. So
That's awesome. And
yeah.
it's working. Oh, it seems like it's working. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I mean, I can't complain. I'm able to support my family, and that's the big deal. So,
Yeah,
and that's,
absolutely.
yeah. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Man. Well, congratulations. From what I can tell, you're doing great. You have great products. I've never been disappointed with anything.
Well, thank
so
you. I appreciate
it's
that. That's
amazing.
good to hear.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's interesting because you don't always hear the positives whenever people enjoy it, but you always really come back to you when you do something
something's wrong.
and I will always fix it. But yeah, you don't always hear the positives. So thank you. That's good to hear. So yeah.
Absolutely. Before we kind of wrap things up, do you have any parting words of wisdom, whether that's to someone starting a business or someone in high school or whatever? What would you want to tell them? I know, putting you on the spot.
Gosh, these are good questions. Parting words of wisdom.
Or like, why York County? Why choose
York
to
County?
be here? Yeah.
Gosh, that's a good question too. I don't know. I love this place. So I love York and York County because it really is good people. I cannot express that enough. Just fantastic people. And I know, it's been fun being a business owner for that reason alone, because I have been here, gosh, what was it, 14 years before I went full time with the business. And my community was pretty much just York college people and church people. And because I worked out of town for the majority of that time. And then when I started the business downtown and getting to meet what the York college people call townies, and getting to know that it's like a whole nother community, but it is our community. But I hadn't ever really branched out into it. I stuck within my little bubble, and it really is fun. And we really do have great things to do. We really do a very good job of supporting the small businesses here in town, as like our chamber does some really great stuff. And there's just so many positive things. And really, I would say for the most part, our community does a really good job of supporting our downtown.
Absolutely.
So there's always, and I think I really want to stress, like, I think that the businesses we have downtown work really hard to make sure that A, we don't overlap each other, and B, that we're helping to provide things that you need so you don't have to maybe travel as much.
Absolutely.
And I think people are working really hard to try to give you that variety of items so that, you know, maybe you don't have to just jump on Amazon. You could probably go downtown and find what you need.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why. But I mean, like, we continually keep choosing York because it is a fantastic place to raise our kids. They get all of the things that they need here. Our school system is fantastic. Yeah. Our community is amazing, and it is incredibly supportive if you need it. If something pops up, and people are there. And
Absolutely.
That Midwest way of life and the farming and the hard work mentality, you can't beat it. And so, and then it's just a quaint little town with the red brick streets and the, you know, it's cute. I love it. And it's safe. I don't worry about my kids riding their bikes across town to a friend's house. And
which is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. So, yeah, I guess I love it here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's why.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I couldn't. That was awesome.
Okay.
So I guess we will just go ahead and wrap it up then. Just one last plug before we end. How do people reach you? What is your email address?
hello@rusticdrygoods.com. Our website is rusticdrygoods.com. And our phone number is 402-764-1512.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you again so much.
bet.
I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody listening has learned a lot as well.
Well, thanks.
And can't wait to see what comes next.
Well, thanks. I can't either.
In closing, we would like to once again take the time to thank our members, the people that help us drive change. We would like to thank York State Bank, Henderson State Bank, York General, Meade Lumber Company Incorporated, and York News Times. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. Catch you next time.